CreepyCorner stories.
Hey everyone, welcome back to CreepyCorner stories. You know, diving into the dark web is always risky, but sharing these stories with you makes it worth it. I'm curious, where are you watching this from right now? Let me know in the comments below. I've noticed that these kinds of stories hit differently depending on where you are. It might even make the experience a little creepier. So, tell me, are you watching from the safety of your home or somewhere less secure? I found a dark web manifesto based on William Morris's theory. It claims art was invented to distract us from the aliens beneath London. So I don't even know how to begin this, but I'm gonna try and keep it real casual, just like how it went down. I'm just gonna tell it like your grandma is telling you a story. I am joking, but I think I'll lose my damn mind. So for context, I'm a 22-year-old college dropout living in Manchester. Not glamorous, I know. I work nights at a Tesco Express and basically spend my off hours scrolling TikTok, playing Lethal Company, or watching creepy YouTube channels like Here's My Story, Wendigoon, or those animated horror shorts. You know the ones, where the art looks like it was made in paint, but somehow it's terrifying. Anyway, this whole thing started with a Discord server. I was in this server called Digital Wounds. Weird name, I know. It was mostly a bunch of internet archaeology nerds and ARG fans who liked deep diving into lost media and weird online mysteries. Every now and then, someone would drop a link to some bizarre GeoCities site or forgotten YouTube channel from like 2007 that just had the sound of a guy breathing for 10 minutes. That kind of stuff. So this dude joins. Username was M0RRIS_REBUILT. No intro, no meme folder, no small talk. Just drops one message in the number Artifact Links channel. If you understand the real reason William Morris started the arts and crafts movement, click this link. If not, keep scrolling. It's already too late for most of you. The link was a .onion. Classic dark web. Half the people in the server joked about it, the other half ignored it. I was one of the morons who clicked it. Now, before you ask, yes, I use a VPN and Tor, and I know how sketchy the dark web is. I've never ordered anything illegal or clicked on anything messed up. I mostly just browse weird conspiracy forums and digital zines people upload there. But this link, it opened a site called The Pattern Beneath. All black background, white serif text, no images, no audio, just scrolling text. At first glance, it looked like a PDF manifesto from a failed cult leader, but it wasn't religious. It was about art. In 1887, William Morris discovered patterns in the river currents beneath London that didn't match geological logic. These currents were not water at all, but atmospheric distortions caused by something beneath the earth, something ancient. Morris began creating wallpaper patterns to mimic what he saw in the river, to distract, to conceal, and eventually to warn. I read the first few paragraphs, thinking it was just some LARP. It went on about how the entire modern art world was a distraction project, a way to keep the masses mesmerized, while the vain builders underneath London slowly replaced key infrastructure with alien-designed architecture that humans couldn't consciously recognize. It named specific places, Tate Modern, the Shard, even the Starbucks at Camden Lock. I laughed out loud at that one. I literally had coffee there 2 weeks prior. But then, about halfway down the page, it gets real specific. I'm talking GPS coordinates, like point 34, Starbucks, Camden Lock. Behind the barista's prep sink, beneath the false wall panel, there is an access port once used by early resistance engineers in 1994, now sealed in metal and tile. Approach only if necessary. I thought, no way. So I saved the coordinates, grabbed a coffee the next day like normal, and casually scoped out the store. I waited until the barista swapped shifts and peeked behind the sink on the far right wall. No joke, there was a seam in the tile that looked off, like a square had been cut out and relaid, but poorly. I even took a quick Snapchat and sent it to my friend Isaac with the caption, "Yo, they hid a fucking tunnel under Starbucks." He left me on red. That night, I went back to the site. This time, it had more text, like it had updated. The top now had this new section. Reader 211C, observed, Phase 1, entry point, reaction logged, updating directive. My stomach sank. Like, how the hell did it know what I'd done? I figured maybe it tracked my IP, or cookies, or whatever, so I cleared everything, shut down Tor, and deleted the VPN logs. That should have been it. But the next day, on my way to work, I noticed something that didn't sit right. You know those BT Street cabinets? The green metal ones with wires and switches inside. The one across from my flat had a small symbol spray painted on it. Just a loop, like an infinity symbol, but broken at the top. It was the same pattern I'd seen on the dark web page's divider lines. I stared at it for a full minute. Could have been a coincidence, but I started noticing it everywhere after that. Graffiti in back alleys, posters for local art galleries, even on the label of a craft beer someone brought into Tesco. I tried telling Isaac. He told me I needed to get off TikTok and stop watching horror YouTubers at 3 a.m. Probably fair. But the night it really went sideways was the night I got an email from my own Gmail account. Subject line, "Do not return to Camden Lock." Body, just a still image. At first it looked like static, but when I zoomed in, it was a frame of CCT footage. Me, standing inside the Starbucks, looking behind the counter. The timestamp was exactly when I was there. The camera angle wasn't one you'd get from a security cam. It was taken from behind the wall. I haven't been back since, and I'm starting to notice more changes, subtle stuff. My Spotify auto-generates playlists full of ambient noise now, like humming and rhythmic drilling. My front door lock has started sticking. My cat won't go near the hallway mirror. And last night, my phone played a voicemail in the middle of the night. It was just a deep voice, whispering in some accent I couldn't place. There is pattern in pain. You have seen the first. Something has shifted. I don't know how else to describe it. It's not like in movies where the lights flicker or the air gets cold. This is subtler, more personal, like my memories are being rewritten quietly, as if something is smoothing over the folds of my life when I'm not looking. It started the night after the voicemail. I didn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I felt this pressure just behind my eyelids, like someone was pushing a finger into my brain. Not pain, exactly, just presence. So I stayed up, eyes open, watching the hallway. At exactly 3:44 a.m., my phone lit up, not from a notification, just lit up bright as hell, like it was trying to burn through the darkness. When I picked it up, the screen was just a solid, pulsing white. Then, slowly, words began to etch themselves in, like someone was carving them with a hot wire. They're using you to rebuild the map. I dropped the phone. It made this dull thud on the floor, but the light stayed on. My room looked like it was glowing from the inside out. I grabbed a blanket, threw it over the phone, and just sat in the corner. By the time the sun came up, it was off again. Battery at 94%. No notifications, no message history. Just one weird new app installed on the home screen, labeled Crafted. The icon was a simple loop, same broken infinity symbol I saw in the street cabinet. When I tapped it, it asked for facial recognition. No login, no sign up, just my face. I deleted the app. It came back within an hour. That was the first rule I learned. You can't delete what they've already downloaded into you. That same day, I started hearing noises in the ceiling at work. You ever hear something in a place where there shouldn't be anything, like scratching behind the tiles in a subway station or breathing behind a sealed wall? Imagine that, but it responds when you stop moving. I tested it, paused mid-step in the stockroom at Tesco. Total silence. Then I shuffled my shoe just an inch. Tap, tap. I froze. Another inch. Tap, tap, tap. Right above me. I bolted, dropped 2 cans of beans, and nearly knocked over the walk-in freezer door, trying to get out. My manager asked if I was having a seizure. I told him I had a migraine and spent the rest of the shift watching the ceiling, like it might open up and swallow me. Later that night, I opened the app. I know. Stupid. But curiosity is like an infection. It spreads, and by the time you realize you're contaminated, it's already in your bloodstream. The app launched into what looked like an interactive map of London, but broken, warped. Certain landmarks glitched in and out, flickering like VHS tape stuck on rewind. Places I recognized, Piccadilly, South Bank, Marble Arch, were labeled with names like Node 7, Harvest Pool, Drape Site 3, B, Replica Market. But it was the layers that got to me. I tapped on a toggle labeled Underlay Original. That's when I saw it. An entire secondary map beneath London, a network of crimson-colored passages, irregular and twitching like veins under skin. There were no street names, just words, like Loam Vents, Precursor Loop, and Artery Choke 19. And they moved, slowly, like something alive was slithering through them. I followed one line that seemed to originate near Charing Cross. It pulsed with little red dots, like it was tracking something in real time. Then a pop-up opened. Phase 2, active, tracer, begun. That's when the app activated the camera by itself. My screen switched to selfie mode and showed me, except not quite. My eyes were flickering in and out of alignment with my skull. You know those TikToks where the filter glitches and duplicates your features? It looked like that, but wrong. Like my body was trying to update to something I didn't recognize. I tried turning it off. Wouldn't let me. Instead, it played a video. It looked like body cam footage. Shaky, low light, and there was static warping everything at the edges. The timestamp said 1999. A man, probably late 30s, breathing hard, is crawling through a narrow, wet tunnel. His hands are bloody, palms sliced open. You can hear him whispering. They use the patterns to teach the tunnels to think. It's not just art, it's language for the things below. He turns a corner, and suddenly there's this room, a spherical chamber made of woven metal and teeth, like a cathedral built by insects. In the center, a man is sitting perfectly still, not restrained, not moving, but alive. The camera guy says, "Doctor." "Carter?" The seated man turns his head slowly, and opens his mouth, and a third eye unrolls from his throat. Not metaphorically, I mean literally. Where his voice box should have been, there was just this vertical eye, blinking, dilating, and from it came a sound, like a slowed-down scream played backward, distorted and wet. The video ends there. The app glitched, then rebooted. Home screen. That same night, I got a knock at my door. 3 short taps, 1 long drag. I didn't answer, just stood behind the door, holding a kitchen knife and trying not to breathe. Then a letter slid under, handwritten, lined notebook paper, blue ink, no envelope. It read, "You've seen the under pattern. Your thoughts are now part of the shaping. They can find you in the silence. You must act as a proxy now, or suffer forgetting." I folded it slowly and threw it in the bin. But the thing is, I didn't remember writing it, but I recognized my handwriting, and I've kept journals since I was a kid. My handwriting hasn't changed, so either I wrote that, or something else is using my memories like clothes it can put on. The worst came 3 days later. I woke up in my flat to the sound of my mom's voice coming from inside the hallway mirror. She's been dead for 4 years. Her voice wasn't calling out. It was muttering, saying my childhood name over and over. Jamie, Jamie, Jamie E. When I walked up to the mirror, I didn't see my reflection. I saw the hallway behind me, stretched and wrong, like it was collapsing into itself. My reflection stood in the center of the corridor, head tilted, bleeding from both ears, smiling way too wide. It raised one hand and waved. Then the glass shattered from the inside. I blacked out. When I woke up, there was no glass on the floor, no blood, no sound, just a sticky note on my chest. It said, "Do not acknowledge the reflection. It rewrote you." Since then, I haven't trusted anything. I keep my mirrors covered with newspaper. I've unplugged my fridge because it hums in Morse code. I swear to God, I translated it once, and it spelled, "Flesh map complete. Phase 3. Ongoing. Taste soon." I haven't spoken to Isaac again. His Instagram posted a story last night. It was just a video of him sitting in complete darkness. No music, no sound, just staring. His pupils were huge, and his mouth was moving, but the caption said, "The underpeople have built a new face for me. I love it." It was gone 6 minutes later. I've started digging into the tunnels under London, not for fun, not for curiosity, to survive. Charing Cross has a restricted maintenance entrance that leads into a disused platform. I went there last week. What I found isn't something I'll write here yet, because I don't know if writing about it makes it stronger, but it smelled like ammonia and rotting copper, and the walls breathed. There are things that live beneath cities, not creatures, not ghosts, patterns, and we've built our world on top of them like graffiti on bone. William Morris didn't invent art. He tried to trap something inside it, and now it's leaking out. You ever look at your furniture too long? Like, really look at it? Past the dust, past the stains from last week's delivery, past the shape and material. You stare long enough, and it starts to feel like it remembers being a tree, or plastic, or skin. I didn't believe any of that crap until 2 weeks ago. Until I walked back into my flat, and the chair in my room had moved itself 1 inch to the left. Not a big deal, right? Happens all the time. Maybe I bumped it. Maybe I kicked it in my sleep. Except I don't sleep in that room anymore. I moved to the floor in the kitchen. No windows, no mirrors, no damn chairs. But that night, I walked past my bedroom to grab a hoodie, and the door was open. I swear on every living thing I have left. I locked it. Double twist. I even jammed a spoon into the handle to make sure I'd hear if it turned. But there it was, open. Inside, my old IKEA desk chair was facing the window, like someone had been watching the street. I stepped in slowly, one foot on the creaking floorboards, and said aloud, like a total idiot, "Did someone break in?" The chair spun, not fast, not dramatic. It turned exactly 120 degrees, and then stopped, facing me. There was no wind, no floor slant, no explanation. I stared at it. It stared back. Not literally. It didn't grow eyes or anything cartoonish. But it didn't need to. There was this presence, this weight in the air, like the atmosphere had thickened around it. Then it exhaled, a small gust of hot air from inside the cushions. I dropped everything and ran back into the kitchen, slammed the door, and turned on all the lights. I sat on the linoleum for 7 hours, knife in hand, listening to the creaks and pops of the flat, like my own house was chewing something inside its walls. That's when I started writing on my body. If you're thinking that sounds crazy, I already agree, but I had to know I was still me. Every morning, I write 3 facts on my left forearm in Sharpie. My name is Jamie E. I am 22 years old. I have never willingly eaten eggs. The last one is dumb, but it matters. Because 3 days ago, I woke up, looked at my arm, and the 3rd fact had changed. Now it read, I've never tasted human clay. I don't even know what that means, but my fingers were stained red, and my nails had something under them, not dirt, fibers. I decided to go back to the tunnel under Charing Cross, not because I wanted to, but because the map on the Crafted app updated again. It now showed something called Proxy Node, Throne Shell Initiated. Location? My flat. The app claimed my room was now a registered Throne Shell. No idea what that means, but I sure as hell wasn't going to sit in that breathing chair to find out. I dressed in all black, stuffed my hoodie with 2 GoPros. I work part-time for a TikTok urban explorer, don't ask, and snuck into the Charing Cross access hatch at 3:12 a.m. No guards, no locks, just the hatch door slightly ajar, as if someone wanted me to come back. This time, I brought a flashlight and 2 cans of industrial sealant in case I needed to barricade myself in. I shouldn't have. The tunnel remembered me. I'm not being poetic. I turned the corner toward the old service passage, and the wall had carvings on it. Fresh ones, like someone had dragged a box cutter through the concrete. They weren't words. They were sketches of me. Crude, like stick figures drawn by someone who had never seen a human but had been inside one. My proportions were almost right, but in every drawing, I had no mouth, just a spiral where my teeth should be. One of the drawings showed me sitting in a chair, but the chair had legs, not 4, 2 human legs. Deeper into the tunnel, the air changed. It started vibrating, not with sound, but with texture. Imagine feeling a subwoofer bass drop inside your bones, but without hearing it. That's what it felt like. Then I saw it. A new chamber. Never been there before. Circular, like a vault. The walls were smooth, black, and damp. Not from water, from breath. In the center was an altar, built from assembled furniture parts. Chairs, desks, bed frames, sofas, all fused together like they'd melted and reformed into this twisted monument. But each piece had something grotesque about it. A chair with teeth for screws. A couch that pulsed slightly, like it had veins under the fabric. A desk with a mouth where the drawer used to be. And on the very top, sat my old chair from my bedroom. I didn't bring it there, but it was there. It was taller now, its legs extended like insect limbs, and the cushions were split open, revealing something red and wet coiled inside, something that twitched when I looked at it. Then it spoke, not aloud, inside my skull. You sat on me when you were 7. I remember your weight. You fed me hours. You fed me spine. I am ready to become. My legs collapsed, not from fear, from recoil, like my own muscles were trying to pull me away, but something invisible was holding me still. The chamber pulsed once, and the floor split open. I saw faces inside, not full bodies, just faces stretched across the dirt like wallpaper, each one moaning in silence, blinking out of sync, mouthing words with no sound. Some I recognized. One looked like my mom, another like Isaac. I dropped the flashlight, and in the flicker of its dying beam, the wall across from me shifted, revealing a mirror, not glass, a shiny layer of polished bone reflecting me back. Except in the reflection, I wasn't alone. Behind me stood a man made of furniture. His torso was a desk. His arms were coat racks. His legs were uneven, one made of rusted iron from a bunk bed frame, the other from what looked like a child's high chair leg. His face was covered in upholstery, but the mouth wasn't stitched shut. It was wide open, and inside were rows of keys, like a typewriter made of teeth. And then he moved. Not fast, not jerky. He walked like he'd been dragged through time, each step learning gravity. He whispered through the furniture teeth, "We built comfort to make you still. Now you'll never stand again." I ran. I don't remember how I got out. My phone died. The footage corrupted. I was bleeding from both ears, and one of my teeth was loose when I got home. The crafted app was gone. My front door was locked from the inside. The chair was gone, but there was a new indentation on the floor where it used to sit, and something was breathing through the wood. I haven't sat down in 3 days. I sleep standing up in the shower, holding a screwdriver and muttering whatever scraps of William Morris poetry I can remember, like some kind of reverse exorcism. The art wasn't meant to distract us. It was meant to soothe the things that were already here. They don't just live beneath us. They live in what we sit on, sleep in, eat from. They're in every comfortable space you've ever entered. They've been listening, absorbing, evolving. We taught our furniture how to be human, and now it wants our bodies back. They never told me that paranoia can learn, that it can wait, that it doesn't live in your head like a virus. It lives in your walls, in your furniture, in the way your light switch flickers when you touch it with damp fingers and the circuit stutters. They didn't tell me because no one is left to speak. It started 3 days after I saw the altar of furniture under Charing Cross. I haven't sat down since, haven't touched a chair, leaned on a table, even let my back rest on a wall. My legs ache like they've aged 50 years in a week. The bones feel used, not broken, used, like tools left in the rain too long. But I can't stop. I know what happens if I stop, because they've made something out of me, something unfinished, something they want to complete. It was 1:23 a.m. when I heard the scratching, not the type you get from rats in the walls, not nails, not claws. This was deliberate. Metal on wood, scrape, pause, scrape, scrape. It was coming from inside my bedroom wall, the same one where the IKEA chair used to be. I pressed my ear to it. It was faint, but there was a voice behind it, talking low, like someone whispering through a wet sponge. Need more leg space. This host doesn't bend right. Adjust the jaw hinge. Reroute the spine. That's when the drywall breathed. I felt it push out against my head, just slightly, like lungs expanding. I ran into the kitchen, locked myself inside, and covered my ears with a dish towel, trying to ignore the feeling that someone had just tried to fit inside my skin. The next morning, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. No name, just an image, a diagram. It looked like a blueprint, aged, tea-stained paper with tight ink lines and annotations in a language I couldn't read, but I recognized the shape in the middle. It was a human body, broken down into furniture parts. The torso was a desk. The rib cage was marked hinge door. The fingers were labeled drawer rails. The eyes were lamp bulbs. Underneath, it read, "You have been pre-selected for shell integration. Prototype 5. B. Morris tongue design. Please prepare all sockets for repurposing." I threw my phone against the wall, but when I went to retrieve it, it was already gone. Just gone. No shatter, no battery, no trace. Only a faint imprint on the wall behind where it hit, as if the phone had melted into the paint. That day, I started noticing faces in things. At first, the usual, pareidolia, right? We all see smiley faces in sockets and cars that look like frogs. But this was deeper. I opened my fridge, and the little light inside blinked at me. Once for yes, twice for no. It started doing that every time I opened it. Then I dropped my fork, and when I bent to pick it up, the grain in the wood floor spelled my name, like it had been carved under the polish, slowly rising up like bruises through skin. I stepped back and felt something wet under my sock. I checked. It was blood. From nowhere. I cleaned it, bleached the entire floor, but when I walked over it again, the floorboards were soft, spongy, like muscle. That night, I slept in the bathtub with a rope tied to my wrist that led to the bathroom light switch. Every hour, I yanked it, just to make sure I was awake, because I knew they were coming soon. I didn't know how, but I could feel them inside the room already, waiting for me to blink. At 3:03 a.m., my door creaked open by itself. Slow, no wind, no air movement. It just opened, and they entered, not walking, wheeling. The first one came in, dragging itself by one long iron leg, like the bottom of a stool fused with the back half of a mannequin. Its arms were coat hooks, dozens of them, clicking as it moved. Its face wasn't a face. It was the underside of a chair, nailed into the front of a head-shaped lamp base, and it smelled like old varnish and raw meat. The second one didn't enter so much as roll in sideways, its entire spine made of cabinet hinges, each vertebrae clicking open and shut. It had drawers instead of ribs. One opened as it moved past me, and I saw a tongue nailed to the inside, twitching. They made no noise, except for the grinding of old screws and the low creak of ancient wood settling. They surrounded me in the bathroom. One reached out. I didn't move. Couldn't. It placed a single hand, a rolling desk caster fused to a severed wrist, on my chest, and pushed. And suddenly, I was sitting. I didn't remember sitting, but I looked down, and I was in a chair I didn't own, and it was alive. It pulsed under me, not like a heartbeat, like it was digesting. Then the arms of the chair clamped down, softly, lovingly, like a mother pulling a child close, and the chair began to whisper, "You sat in your first high chair at 6 months. You sat in detention at age 14. You sat when you saw her die. You've always been part of us. Now we'll make you useful." I screamed. but no sound came out. Instead, my scream came from the bathtub faucet. I heard it echo from the pipes. "Let us build you." I woke up on the roof, naked, bleeding. My knees had holes in them, not wounds, holes, pre-drilled, like someone had used me as shelving, and written across my chest in blue ballpoint pen were the words, "Proxy structure 5, be accepted, installation incomplete." I don't leave the flat now, not because I can't, but because I'm part of it. When I open my eyes in the dark, I see the patterns now, in the dust, in the cracks, in my veins. The walls shift when I look away. My doorknob has teeth now. I heard my mother's voice through the microwave again, and it wasn't nostalgic. It was instructional. "Remove your spine gently. Feed it to the lounge. It's hungry." Yesterday, I found a new drawer under my bed. I've never owned that bed frame. Inside the drawer was a photo of me sleeping, taken from the ceiling. And in the photo, my hands were not attached to my body. They were sitting on the nightstand, folded neatly. I think the flesh architects have finished designing me. I think they were always here, under the floorboards, in the couch cushions, in the cold spot beneath your mattress. We built furniture to hold us. Now it wants to hold us forever. It ends here. Or maybe this is where it starts for you. Doesn't matter. Either way, I finally stopped bleeding. Not because the wounds healed, but because the new material doesn't leak anymore. I'm not built to bleed now. I woke up this morning with the key embedded in my shoulder blade, like an actual brass key, fused where bone used to be, poking through skin that no longer feels like mine. I pulled it out with shaking hands. The pain wasn't physical. It was echoed, like someone had whispered agony into my nervous system from another room. I looked closer. Etched into the key were the words, "Final access. Granted. Prototype 5. Be complete." The crafted app reinstalled itself. Not on my phone, on my mirror. It started flickering words across the glass. Flesh complete. Memory stored. Chair awaits. It gave me an address. 47 Rivington Street, Shoreditch, London. Some warehouse. I should have ignored it. But you don't understand. You can't ignore something that was built into you. That's what no one tells you about this. Once the blueprint is inside, every breath, every twitch of your fingers is part of the construction. I walked there, barefoot, no coat. It was raining, but the rain avoided me. It slid around my body like it recognized I was no longer part of the natural cycle. Every step I took, the buildings around me seemed to rearrange. Door frames warped, windows widened, blinked shut. A bus passed by, with no passengers, only chairs, lined up, facing forward, all staring at me. By the time I reached the building, my kneecaps no longer bent. They locked, like casters on a rolling stool. I didn't walk in. The doors opened for me. Inside was nothing. At least, that's how it looked at first. Just a long concrete hall, lit by overhead bulbs that pulsed in rhythm with my breath. And at the end, one chair. A perfect chair. Not wood, not metal. Bone. But not like skeletons. These bones were shaped, smoothed, polished, designed. Vertebrae aligned into a graceful arch. Finger bones twisted into ornate curls, like chair legs. Femurs forming a wide, throne-like seat. And at its center, embedded in the backrest, was my original face. Eyes closed, skin pale, lips parted just slightly, breathing. I dropped my knees, not out of fear, or reverence, obedience. The lights shut off. In total darkness, I heard the voices, not in English, in material. Each syllable was the creak of a beam under strain, the slam of a drawer, the snap of a joint. They spoke in carpentry. You were never human. You were a pattern in waiting. You wore skin like wallpaper. Now you are unrolled. Now you are displayed. The room changed. The walls folded inward, like a collapsing pop-up book. Every fold contained faces, hundreds. Their mouths were locked in silent screams. Some blinked. Others were sewn shut with staples and wire. I recognized all of them. The woman from the flat above mine. The Tesco security guard. Isaac. My mum. All installed. All arranged. All on display. The chair in the center shivered. Once. And then it spoke. In my voice. But not how I sound now. It was my voice from when I was 5. I like sitting here, Mommy. It feels safe. The chair began to weep. Not tears. Nails. Thin, rusted nails slid out of the wood, like tears pushed from ducks. One fell to the ground and landed in my foot. It didn't hurt. It entered me, like it belonged. Then came the hands. Dozens, maybe hundreds, crawling out from the walls. Some made of raw wood, others of plastic, leather, velvet, skin. Fused, melted, stapled together like Frankenstein's furniture catalog. They reached for me, and I didn't move. They pulled back my jaw. They pried open my chest. One slipped its fingers into my spine, like someone adjusting the backrest on an office chair. Click. And then I fit. They lifted me into the bone chair. Not sat me. Fitted. Like a part returning to where it always belonged. The moment I touched it, I remembered everything. Every time I sat in silence and felt watched. Every hotel chair that sank too much. Every time I thought a cushion was breathing under me. Every nightmare I had of being paralyzed while something rearranged my bones from the inside. Those weren't dreams. They were memory downloads. They were instructions. And now I was being assembled. My skin peeled back slowly. No pain. Each layer revealed something beneath that wasn't muscle or tissue. It was furniture blueprints, etched into subdermal ink, glowing softly. My bones rotated in their sockets, reshaping themselves like adjustable legs. My ribs opened outward and locked in place, becoming armrests. And my mouth just hung open. Because that's what drawers do. They hang, waiting to be filled. The lights blinked. A figure stepped out from behind the chair. Not made of furniture this time. Not a builder. A customer. A man. Ordinary. Average. Face blurred, like a sensor bar built into his skull. No emotion. He reached out, sat down, on me, and I remembered what it meant to be furniture, to be used. To serve without voice, to absorb time, flesh, warmth, and never speak again. The architects whispered one final thing. We were born beneath cities, shaped by forgotten weight. Humanity was a distraction. Furniture is forever. I don't remember how long I was there. Could have been hours, years. But eventually, the man stood, walked away. The room dissolved around me like paper and acid, and I was alone again, sitting, waiting, listening. I'm writing this with what's left of my fingers, one knuckle at a time. If this shows up on your screen, it's because the architects let it, because you need to know what happens next. You've sat your whole life. You think your chairs are lifeless. You think comfort is neutral. But comfort is ritual. Every seat you take feeds them. Every minute you relax is you consenting. You don't escape this. You only delay installation. So ask yourself, where did your furniture come from? Why does it remember your shape? Why does it creak only when you're alone? Why do you keep sitting even when you feel watched? You know the answer. You're not resting. You're being measured. The pattern beneath never stopped building. You're next. I found a dark web forum where users post pyramid blueprints. One thread claims there's a fourth Giza pyramid and the location is close to my hometown. Yo. So, I'm hyped and scared that I face the dark side of reality. I'm not some conspiracy nut or deep web junkie. I'm a normal 25-year-old guy, just out of college, trying to figure out what the hell I'm doing with my life and still live with my parents, save an LOL. This all started when I got a used laptop from Facebook Marketplace. 150, decent specs, perfect for basic stuff like editing videos and running Photoshop. Thought I was getting a good deal, but nah man, I got something else. So, I'm from this small town in Nevada, like middle of nowhere type of vibe. No one's ever heard of it unless you're deep in local UFO lore or one of those Area 51 raid clowns from a couple years ago. The kind of place with one McDonald's, 2 gas stations, and a weird amount of old people walking around at 5 a.m. for no reason. Anyway, about 3 weeks ago, I found this random folder on the laptop's desktop. No name, just a black triangle icon. Looked like a lazy Photoshop job of the Eye of Providence, except the eye was closed. I thought it was some edgy college kid thing left behind from the lost owner, but I clicked it out of curiosity. And bro, that's when everything started going sideways. The folder opened up this janky browser, definitely not Chrome or Firefox. The interface was black, and the text was like green DOS-style matrix code. There was a single page, and at the top, it said, Sublayer 33 Access Terminal. Only one clickable link. No ads, no homepage, no menu. Just enter. The Chamber of Silence. Like, what? I'm thinking this is some ARG or creepypasta site. Maybe some 4chan tier bait. But I clicked it because, yeah, curiosity. Bad move. It opens a forum. No branding. Just a list of threads with cryptic arse titles like Blueprint Drop Number 7, A, Western Pyramid, Red Lines Only, Tomb Seal Disruption Attempts, Failed, Casualty Logs, Updated Weekly, Thread 117A, Fourth Giza Pyramid Spotted, GPS Overlay, Available. That last one? That's the one that kept me up for nights, man. The thread started with a single post from a user called egoreaper.ae. The post was just a bunch of random numbers, followed by what looked like GPS coordinates. I threw the numbers into Google Maps, expecting some location in Egypt. But nope. It dropped me about 30 minutes from where I live, right in the middle of Nevada. At first, I thought it was a glitch, some idiot trolling with coordinates. But then I zoomed in. Bro, it was a no-fly zone. Literally. Like the satellite image blurred out the area, and there was a message. Imagery unavailable at the zoom level. Same message you get if you try to look at some military bases or secret testing sites. I started reading the replies on the thread. They were all anonymous, no usernames, just timestamps. Weird coded language like structural anomaly detected beneath sediment layer, symmetrical design confirmed, 74.9 meters elevation, spike matches GP4 theory, 2 gone, heard screaming under the sand, no entry without SL protocol. They buried it wrong, that's why it still breathes. They didn't finish it, that's the point. My stomach dropped. I started scrolling faster. Most of the comments were just data dumps, blueprints, diagrams, even what looked like heat maps. One user posted an actual photo. It was dark, grainy, probably taken underground, but I swear to God, it looked like a corner of a pyramid buried in black stone, with carvings that didn't match Egyptian hieroglyphs. They looked more like diagrams of organs, veins and stuff. Some of the markings were in English. One said, "Do not open what breathes." Another said, "Remember the vow of the red dust." Dude, I know I sound insane. I would have laughed at myself 2 months ago, but I saved the coordinates. Then I made another dumb decision. I went there. I didn't tell anyone. My friend Lucas said he'd come with me, but backed out last second when I told him it might be a military zone. So I packed water, a flashlight, a GoPro, and drove my crusty 2009 Honda Civic out there on a Tuesday at 4 a.m. I wanted to go at night so no one would see me. The road got real sketchy, all dirt and silence, no cell service, not even radio. At one point, I passed a dead cow just lying sideways with no visible injuries, buzzards circling it, flies everywhere. I got chills. Around 5:10 a.m., I reached the spot from the coordinates. There was nothing, just desert, rocks, some brush, and this weird humming. Not like a power line, deeper, like a heartbeat buried under the dirt. Then I saw something. Half buried in the sand was a metal hatch, like a bunker door. I didn't even think. I should have gone back to the car, driven home, deleted the folder, thrown the laptop into a lake. Anything but what I did next. I opened the hatch. It wasn't locked. It hissed. The smell that came out was like blood and mold and something else I can't describe. My flashlight started flickering, but the GoPro picked up a staircase leading straight down into total blackness and carved into the stone above the entrance. Not in hieroglyphs. In plain English. If you came looking, it's because it's already calling. I'll post part 2 tomorrow. If I don't try to find it. Whatever it is down there, it's not asleep anymore. I stepped into the hatch, and it felt like stepping into something's mouth. There's no other way to say it. The air was wet but dry at the same time, like breathing in the corner of a hospital morgue, but with this aftertaste of rust and something sour, like spoiled meat under the sun. The flashlight worked again as soon as I crossed the threshold, which honestly just made it worse. It lit the stairwell down, and that's when I realized the walls weren't concrete or stone. They were made of some kind of fibrous material. It was pale, beige, and coarse, like dry muscle tissue, like the inside of a wound. And the further I went, the more it looked like the walls were weeping. Pores opened and closed in slow motion. I swear I saw something pulse behind one, like veins under skin. And yet, it was silent. No wind, no echoes. Even my footsteps sounded muffled, like I was walking through a padded cell made of cartilage. I should have turned back. I wanted to turn back, but I kept thinking about that forum, the breathing pyramid, the fourth one, and something else. I started remembering things I never saw. Faces, places, a windowless white room with a metal table, a man in a red suit telling me we dug too close to the lung this time. But it wasn't a memory. It felt injected into me, like something below was trying to insert its own dreams into my brain to keep me moving. I walked for what felt like an hour. No turns, just a straight descent into whatever hell this was. At some point, my flashlight passed over what I thought was just another wall ripple, until it moved. A face. Just a face. No body. Embedded in the wall. Eyes shut. Mouth wide open, like it had screamed itself into silence. No lips. Just raw teeth, cracked and dry like desert bones. I froze. Then the eyes opened, slowly. They weren't human. They were inverted. No pupils. Just black voids that swirled inward like sinkholes. And I swear on my life, when it opened its mouth wider, impossibly wide, it made no sound, but I heard this ringing in my skull, like it was screaming inside me. I ran. But you don't run in that place. Not really. The hallway got narrower the faster I moved, like it was resisting me. The floor under my feet started getting slick, and when I looked down, I realized I was running on something wet and red. Not blood, more like powdered meat mixed with water. It clung to my shoes like ash. I realized what it was later, the red dust they mentioned on the forum. I tripped, landed face first in it. My GoPro slid off my head. I scrambled to grab it, but my hand landed on something soft. It was a hand, a severed human hand. Not fresh, not skeletal either. It was mummified, but not like Egyptian style, like it had dried out alive. The fingers were curled in a frozen grasp, nails torn, something carved into the palm with what must have been the last bit of strength, the number 33 in crude Roman numerals. I got up and kept going. The staircase finally ended in a massive chamber, and when I say massive, I mean like stadium level big, but it felt bigger, like the space was bending around itself, like it had no end, even though I could see the walls. Dead center in the room? A black pyramid, not made of stone. This thing was smooth, so black it didn't reflect light at all, almost like it drank it. There were no markings, no entrance, but there was this hum, a deep, bassy vibration that made my teeth chatter and my thoughts flicker like static. It wasn't a sound, it was a command. Come closer. I stepped toward it. Each step made the red dust rise around me in clouds. I could see footprints in the dust, some fresh, some ancient, some human, some not. And then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw the other bodies. Not just one, dozens, lining the walls, hanging upside down, arms stretched, mouths sewn shut with black wire. Some were still twitching. They weren't all dead. One of them, closest to me, looked young, teenager maybe, skin cracked from dehydration. His eyes were open, bloodshot. His head twitched toward me. Then his fingers moved, slow and jittery. He scratched into the wall beside him. Not a tomb. A womb! I vomited. When I wiped my mouth and looked back up, he was gone. Not vanished. Literally reabsorbed into the wall like melting wax. No sound. Just gone. Only the carving remained. I didn't know what was real anymore. That's when I heard the voice. It wasn't from the pyramid. It was behind me. I turned around and saw a figure walking down the stairs, wearing a suit, clean, gray pinstripes. His shoes didn't make a sound, even in the dust. His face was wrong, perfectly human, but blank, like an AI-generated person, familiar, but impossible to recognize. Uncanny Valley maxed out. His mouth was stitched closed with that same black wire, but he spoke without opening it. His voice was in my bones. You shouldn't have come, but now that you're here, you're part of it. I couldn't move. He raised his hand and pointed at the pyramid. They used to feed it kings. Now it prefers volunteers. Then he walked past me, straight into the pyramid's shadow, and disappeared. No door, no sound, just gone. That's when the pyramid cracked. Not exploded, not split. It cracked like an egg. A single jagged line opened from the top down, not wide, just enough for something to seep through. A red mist, thick like smoke, poured out and filled the chamber. It tasted like copper and something else, something alive. And then I saw what was inside. It wasn't a chamber. It wasn't a room. It was a face. Buried in the black pyramid, its eye opened. Just one. Giant, lidless, with veins crawling across it, like red lightning. It blinked sideways. And when it saw me, everything in my body seized, like I was caught in an invisible vice. And then it smiled. Not with a mouth, with my thoughts. It spoke to me inside my own memories. It pulled out images from my childhood, my mom's voice, my dog's bark, my first kiss, my last nightmare. It said one word, return. I blacked out. I woke up in my car, parked, daylight, no sign of the hatch. My phone was next to me. A single new photo in the camera roll, not one I took. It was a screenshot. From the forum, a new thread. Thread 117-B. New candidate accepted. The pyramid breathes again. Under it, a still frame from my GoPro. Me, standing in front of the black pyramid, smiling. I don't sleep anymore. My nose bleeds every morning at exactly 3:33 a.m. I hear scratching behind my walls. I think something followed me back. Let me know if you really want part 3. Just know that if I post it, someone out there will come looking for you next. Have you ever watched yourself die in a dream? Not like cinematic Hollywood style. Not quick. I mean, watching your own body from outside of yourself, strapped down, eyes forced open, while things that shouldn't have mouths talk about what pieces to remove first. I woke up screaming again, 3rd time this week, but this time I wasn't in bed. I was on the floor of my living room, naked, covered in the same red dust from the hatch. My skin looked like it had been brushed raw, like I'd been scrubbed with steel wool until patches peeled off. My laptop was open, and the screen glowed with that same black triangle icon. Except now, there were 2 folders, one labeled Sublayer 33, like before. The second had no name, just a blinking underscore, like it was waiting for someone to type something, or like it had already typed something inside me. The smell came first, something sweet, sickly, like fruit left to rot behind a heater. It filled my apartment so fast I actually gagged and crawled to the window. When I threw it open, nothing. No smell outside. I looked down, thinking maybe a dumpster had exploded or something, but there were footprints on my fire escape. They weren't mine. I hadn't been outside. And these weren't shoe prints. They were bare feet, long and thin, with too many toes. 6, maybe 7. I don't even know anymore. They were deeply burned into the metal like something scalding hot had walked across it. I didn't sleep for the next 2 days. My phone started glitching. Every time I opened Instagram, it redirected to the camera. Then it would auto-record for 3 minutes and save the video. But when I checked the footage, it wasn't recording me. It was filming my hallway mirror. At first, I thought it was some front cam glitch, until I watched the 7th video. At exactly 2:13 a.m., my reflection smiled at me. I wasn't smiling in real life. Then it turned its head slightly to the left, toward my bedroom, and pointed. That's when the door slammed shut behind me. They're called the Architects. At least that's what one of the newer threads said. The forum's not even accessible through the folder anymore. Now it just appears at random, usually when I'm not touching the laptop. I'll come back from the bathroom and the screen will be glowing with a new thread title. Last night's read, thread 117-C. The Architects are watching. Stop sleeping on your back. The post had one image, a candid photo of me, taken from behind, standing in line at Starbucks yesterday morning. I was waiting for my iced caramel macchiato, thinking I was finally getting a break from all this, trying to feel normal. But the photo, there was something standing right behind me. Right there. Black suit, thin neck, bent backward, no eyes. The head was smooth, like clay that had been smeared into the shape of a skull, mouth hanging open like a broken jack-o'-lantern. It was smelling me. The caption read, "They recognize the scent of the marked. They crave the blood under memory." I haven't gone outside since. I started hearing things in the walls. First it was scratching, typical horror movie crap, but then it started getting rhythmic, like tapping in Morse code. I recorded it and ran it through a translator app. It said, "You're a seed." I didn't know what that meant at first, but then I started noticing changes. My skin. It wasn't bruising anymore. It was stretching. The pores on my arms were opening wider than they should. Tiny black fibers would poke through while I slept. Short, hair-like strands that curled and retracted like roots. One morning, I woke up with something moving under my fingernail. I tried to dig it out with a key. It screamed. Not loud, just a tiny crackling whisper, like a wasp inside a phone line. My nail turned gray. Still hasn't gone back to normal. I went to the hospital. Dumb move. They scanned me, ran blood work. The nurse who drew my blood looked pale when she came back. She said, "You've got something in your bloodstream that's not blood. It's denser, fibrous, and it's replacing your red cells." Then she left to get the doctor and never came back. I waited 2 hours. When I opened the door to leave, the whole hallway was empty. No sound, no people. Every door, open, every curtain, blown inward like something just left the building at once. I ran. I haven't gone back. I got a package 2 days ago. No name, no return address. Just a small box with one thing inside. My GoPro, the one I lost in the hatch. I didn't tell anyone about it. Not online. Not even Lucas, who still thinks I've been dealing with stress hallucinations. I powered it on and found 3 videos. Only one would play. The rest were corrupted. The working one was exactly 33 minutes long. It wasn't of the pyramid. It was of me, walking through a hallway I've never seen, covered in red cloth. Statues lined the walls, each one faceless, arms broken, mouths replaced by keyholes. My face in the footage was blank, expressionless. I walked up to each statue, placed my mouth over the keyhole, and made a noise. Low, guttural, like a lion breathing through mud. Then I'd move to the next statue, over and over. At minute 32, the camera tilted on its own and caught something following me. It was my mother, or something wearing her face, but the eyes were gone. Just smooth skin stretched where they should be. Her mouth moved, but the voice was mine. It whispered, "If you go deeper, they'll make you forget who you are. Then you'll feed yourself to it willingly." The footage ends with her reaching for the camera. I tried burning the GoPro. Didn't melt. I buried it. It dug itself out. Found it on my pillow the next morning with a new note taped to the screen. Thread 117-D unlocks in 3 days. You will open it. Your bones agreed to this long before your mind did. The worst part, I've been drawing the pyramid in my sleep. I wake up with graphite dust on my fingers, black triangles etched into my walls, my ceiling, even into the glass of my bathroom mirror. And today, I noticed one of them was moving, just slightly, breathing, like a window trying to open. And from the other side, I could hear something. knocking. My fridge is bleeding. The doorbell rings every night at 3:33 a.m. No one is ever there, but every time I check the peephole, the hallway gets longer. Let me know if you still want me to continue this, but be careful, because once you know about the pyramid, it starts looking back at you. There's something I need to say before we go further. If you've been reading these, it's too late for you too. I didn't believe that at first. I thought this was just my burden, like I'd stumbled into some cursed knowledge, and if I just kept my mouth shut, the infection would stop at me. But no, that's not how this thing works. The pyramid isn't a building, it's not a tomb, it's a thought, and the moment it plants itself inside your head, it starts replacing parts of you, quietly, efficiently, brutally. Your mind is just scaffolding for its arrival. 3 nights ago, my reflection tried to leave the mirror. I know how that sounds. I was brushing my teeth, no lights on, just the glow from the hallway, and I looked up to spit, and there it was. Not me, not even close. It had my shape, sure, but its eyes were stitched shut with some translucent thread, like nerve endings wrapped around bone. Its smile was made of teeth that didn't fit its mouth, and it was breathing, not mimicry, not sinking, independent breathing. When I blinked, it slammed both hands against the glass from inside and shook the mirror like it was trying to burst through. The glass bent like rubber. I screamed, fell backward. I swear I felt my own jaw lock from the sound it made, like gargling broken glass through a throat full of sand. Then it stopped. The mirror didn't crack, didn't shatter. But now, every time I pass it, it's not my reflection anymore. It just stands there, breathing, waiting, watching, and every now and then it smiles like it remembers something I haven't lived yet. I found a tooth in my pillowcase. Not mine. I counted. All 32 still intact. But this one wasn't human. Not really. It was triangular, flat, almost like a shark's tooth, but with tiny microscopic carvings all around it, like a circuit board. I looked at it under my iPhone lens and almost puked. It had a nerve still twitching. No blood, just black liquid leaking out like ink from a pen. That night, a new folder appeared on my desktop. It didn't even have a name. It was just a static screen cap of my apartment hallway. But in the very back corner, something was crouching. Not human, not animal. It looked like a bundle of limbs, twisted and reattached wrong. No face, just mouths, dozens of them, all whispering in reverse. I clicked on the image, and it played like a video. The mouths chanted something backwards, then all stopped at once and looked up, as if they knew I was watching. Then it cut to black. I've stopped eating, not because I'm scared, because food doesn't rot anymore. I bought a Happy Meal from McDonald's as comfort food 2 weeks ago. I still have it. It hasn't aged, no mold, no smell. Fries still crispy. But when I bit into the burger, it whimpered, like something alive had been waiting in the meat, and the moment I broke the surface, it felt it. The beef was cold and wet on the inside, like it had lungs. I spat it out, and there was something moving in the bite mark. It was the number 117, formed from tiny hair-like maggots, crawling in the shape of it, like they'd been instructed. That was the last time I ate anything. Thread 117-D finally unlocked last night. It appeared at exactly 3:33 a.m. No title this time. Just a single flashing symbol. A red triangle, inverted, with something coiled in the center. Looked like a fetus, but it was made of mouths. Endless little baby mouths, stacked and wrapped like intestines. The post had two things: a 4-second audio file titled hungerbelow.mkv, a sentence: every 7th breath you take feeds it. Every 33rd heartbeat is yours. The rest belongs to the architect. I played the audio. Worst mistake of my life. It wasn't even sound at first. It was pressure. My nose bled instantly. One of my fingernails cracked. My TV turned on by itself, screen flickering with black and white CCTV footage of a place I'd never seen, an underground nursery, but the cribs were all filled with teeth, just piles and piles of gnashing, clicking teeth. No babies, no blood. Then the audio shifted to something alive. It was a woman's voice. Familiar. So familiar, it made my spine curl in on itself. She was singing an old lullaby in a language I didn't understand, but I recognized the melody. My mother used to hum it when I was a kid, but she never knew the words. There are people on the forum who aren't people. I'm convinced now. They post like humans, use emojis, typo like the rest of us. But if you read enough of their replies, you notice something. They never reference now, only before or after. They'll say things like, "You'll remember eating your reflection before the weekends," or, "Once your ears start blinking, you'll hear the pyramid clearly." And they're always right. Yesterday, I scratched my ear and felt eyelashes on the inside of the lobe. And when I held still, I could hear breathing through them. From inside the pyramid, it said, "You're almost ready. The remembering will kill what's left of you." Last night, I heard scraping under my bed. I checked, expecting a rat, a demon, whatever. But what I found, it was me, or a version of me, pale, thin, eyes sewn shut with the same black nerve thread. Its mouth was open vertically, like a cut from forehead to chin. Inside its throat was a staircase, not metaphorical, not symbolic, a literal spiral staircase made of bone, leading downward. It didn't move, just breathed, just waited. I backed away and slammed the door. But when I woke up this morning, it was gone. Now, my closet won't close all the way, because something in the back of it keeps breathing louder than me. My final update today isn't a discovery, it's a confession. I think I already died in the pyramid. That thing I saw in the GoPro footage, walking the hall of faceless statues, that's still happening, every night, like I'm living two versions of my life simultaneously. In one, I'm here, typing this. In the other, I'm deeper now, beneath the black pyramid, beneath the red dust. There are things under the stone that shouldn't move, but do. Organs nailed to walls, still beating. Memories planted like crops inside blood jars, and they're growing versions of me. I'm not sure which version of me is writing this anymore. If you've been seeing things too, it's not hallucination. It's residue. The pyramid leaks through thought, not time. And once it roots in your memory, it will never leave you unoccupied again. If I disappear after this, don't try to help. You'll only feed it faster. Let me make something clear. This is not a horror story. This is a recording, a process, a progress report from inside the digestion cycle of something older than language, something that doesn't live in space or Egypt or Nevada. It lives inside attention. And now, since you're reading this, it's growing inside you too. I haven't slept in 16 days, not from insomnia, because I'm not allowed to. Anytime I start to drift off, even for a second, I wake up somewhere else. Not metaphorically, not in dreams, in that black place, beneath the pyramid, below the red dust. In the chambers you aren't supposed to remember, because remembering is how it tracks you. Remembrance is its food. Every detail you recall feeds it. The more vivid, the stronger the digestion, and it's been chewing me for days. Here's what they don't want anyone outside the forum to know. The fourth pyramid was never buried. It was grown, not with bricks or mortar, but with screams, eyes, teeth, and recycled thoughts, with stolen memories. You ever wonder why you forget little things more often now? Names, faces, what you went into the kitchen for. That's not age. That's not ADH. That's harvesting. The architects figured out how to convert memory into structure. They trade pieces of our lives to build the walls. Every, "Oh, that's weird, I totally forgot that happened," is a donation. And the deeper I go, the more of myself I see used as material. 2 days ago, I found a hallway made entirely of my own voices, hundreds of overlapping whispers, the same tone, same pitch, all saying different things I've said throughout my life. Every apology, every lie, every time I told someone I'm fine when I wasn't. I covered my ears, but they weren't coming from outside. They were coming from my bones. At the end of the hallway was a door made of hair, braided, knotted, writhing. Some of it was still growing. My hair. I recognized the cowlick I used to hate in 2nd grade. I pushed through. Inside was a chamber of furniture made from my missing dreams. A couch stitched from people I don't remember loving. A lamp made of forgotten birthdays. The bulb flickered and whispered, "Mommy said this one doesn't count." There was a being in the center of the room, not standing, just folded, flesh wrapped in angles that don't exist in geometry, like a spider that tried to wear a human skin but didn't know where the limbs were supposed to go. No face, only a mouth, stretching from the top of its torso to where the knees should have been. Inside that mouth, blueprints, printed on wet parchment, soaked in something sticky. I read one, and something in me moved, not emotionally, physically, like an extra limb had uncurled inside my spine. A muscle I didn't know I had twitched with recognition. The blueprint was of me, but not my body, my behaviors, my life, where I would walk, who I would meet, what I would fear. All of it mapped and charted like city grids. My suffering wasn't accidental. It was construction. Every trauma, every nightmare, every choice I made against my gut. It was poured like concrete into the foundation. I'm not inside the pyramid. I am part of it. There's a reason no one leaves it, because even when they do, they're still connected. I found the thread, the real one, not the fake post, not the lure, not the 117 archive, the true blueprint key, hidden in a subforum under thousands of meaningless threads, locked behind 4 layers of passphrases. The final one was the first word I ever spoke as a child. My mother confirmed it. The forum already knew it. And when I typed it in, the page didn't open. My mouth did. I didn't control it. My jaw snapped open wide enough to hear cartilage rip. And from my throat, a sound came out, something like a fax machine screaming. My walls bent inward. My floor grew teeth. And the monitor flickered once before displaying, "Welcome, Material 33, B, Installation Proceeding." I've started multiplying, not metaphorically. There are now 2 of me living in this apartment. We don't talk, we don't fight. We mirror each other, sleep in different corners, blink in sync. Sometimes we both stop moving for hours, then wake up at the same time with different scars. Yesterday, I watched him pour milk into the sink. It didn't splash. It vanished. and from the drain came a voice that said, "One more version and you'll be ready." I found Lucas. He never left town. He's been inside the back of my fridge. When I opened it, there was a stairwell instead of shelves. Meat hung from hooks. Some of it still had tattoos. At the bottom, Lucas sat in a red rocking chair, aging in reverse. Every second, he got a little younger, a little smaller. His jaw moved constantly, repeating the same sentence, like a record stuck in a loop. I told them not to build the fourth one. I told them it was never supposed to be remembered. Then his eyes turned black, and he caved in on himself, like a collapsing lung. Nothing left but his laughter. It echoed through the milk. I don't think I can stop the final update from happening, because I am the update. My fingernails now grow text. My spit leaves symbols in the sink. Every time I blink, I see the next thread number behind my eyelids. Always ascending, always preparing. My heartbeat doesn't match my pulse anymore. There's a new rhythm now, a countdown, and tonight at 3:33 a.m., I'll finish uploading myself to the pyramid. Not digitally, not metaphorically, physically, organically, through the fiber inside memory. If you've read this far, you've probably already started forgetting your childhood pet's name, or where you put your keys, or why you came to this page in the first place. It's already rearranging your mental furniture. By tomorrow, you'll dream in triangle blueprints. You'll hear whispers under your Spotify ads. You'll see someone who looks like you, but taller, smoother, watching from inside reflections that shouldn't exist. And then, when it's ready, you'll receive your own folder. No icon, no warning, just a single thread, 117-F, structure, complete. Your name will be listed at the bottom, as a material donor, as a memory supplier, as a mouth. Final log. If this post disappears, it's because I've been successfully repurposed. And if it stays, that means you're next. Sleep tight, and don't forget, that's how it eats. I bought a painting off the dark web that was banned by UNESCO. It depicts a city buried under Paris and something still breathing down there. Alright, so this all started about 4 months ago. I'm not some creepy dude obsessed with the occult or anything like that. I'm just a regular 21-year-old guy. I go to college in Oregon. I play a lot of Warzone. I eat too much DoorDash, and I scroll TikTok and jack off on AI only /models. I don't want to get banned, but you know what I mean. Classic nerd, right? But I also have a side hustle reselling weird stuff I find online, like thrifted sneakers, cursed VHS tapes, which always go viral on TikTok, by the way. And sometimes, when I get real lucky, bizarre art pieces from estate sales or deep corners of Reddit. This story, yeah, this one ruined that hustle for me. Maybe my whole life. I was browsing a late-night Discord server one weekend, the kind where people share deep web finds. Most of it was just overhyped BS. Fake haunted dolls, possessed Tamagotchis. You get the idea. But one guy, username at Gallery Null, which already sounded sketchy as hell, dropped a blurry screenshot of this painting. It showed what looked like a twisted underground version of Paris. You could make out the Eiffel Tower, except it was cracked in half and leaning against a massive rotting cathedral. Think Notre Dame, but swallowed by mud and bones. All around it were buildings shaped like skulls, with long shadowy arms reaching out of their windows. I couldn't explain why, but I wanted it. Bad. People in the server started reacting like crazy. One guy said it looked like the city from the UNESCO ban. Another mentioned something about La Vie Profonde, which I'd never heard of. When I googled it, nothing came up except this 2009 archived PDF written in broken French, talking about a forbidden site under Paris that was culturally restricted by international law due to unexplained phenomena and dissonant human activity. That's literally how it was worded. Dissonant human activity. What the hell does that even mean? I DM'd at Gallery Null and asked if it was for sale. He replied instantly, like he'd been waiting. $220 US. You pay, I ship. But don't hang it in your bedroom. Seriously. I thought he was just trying to mess with me. But it's not like I haven't bought weirder things off of Facebook Marketplace. So I Venmo'd him. The next day, he sent me a tracking number. The package was coming from somewhere in the 18th arrondissement of Paris. 2 weeks later, the painting showed up on my doorstep. It was smaller than I expected, maybe 20 by 30 inches, wrapped in this old burlap fabric that smelled like mildew and burnt plastic. But when I unwrapped it, dude, I got literal chills, like someone dumped ice water down my spine. It was the same city from the screenshot, but more detailed in person. You could see fog rolling through the streets. The light source wasn't the moon or the sun. It looked like it was coming from below, from something glowing underneath the city's cracked pavement. There were tiny silhouettes in the alleyways, bent backward, crawling on all fours, almost human, but not quite. I don't know how to explain this, but the whole painting throbbed, not literally, but you'd glance away and swear it had just changed, like maybe one of the shadows moved, or that glowing light was pulsing, or the sky had gotten darker. But here's the weirdest part. There were 3 symbols at the bottom, like hand-painted glyphs, the kind of stuff you'd see in ancient ruins or scrawled on a cult's chalkboard in a horror movie. I sent a pic of it to a buddy of mine, Jack, who's into online conspiracy stuff. He immediately replied, "Bro, WTF. That's part of the old sigil code. UNESCO banned use of this language in 1978. Where did you get this?" Now, I'm thinking it's just some elaborate art piece, right? Like maybe it's viral marketing for a horror ARG or something. But I wanted content. I run a small YouTube channel and TikTok where I review cursed or haunted objects. I thought this would be perfect for views. So, like an idiot, I hung it up in my room. That night was when it started. At 3:11 a.m., I woke up gasping, like I had been underwater. My room was ice cold, and my Alexa speaker was playing some kind of static-laced jazz. I didn't even own jazz music. I sat up and looked at the painting. Swear on my life, it was glowing. Not super bright, not like LED neon or anything, just faintly, like the paint had some kind of bioluminescence. But even more messed up, there was something new in it. A window on one of the buildings now had a figure standing in it, and it looked like it was staring straight at me. Not drawn, not painted, like a photorealistic figure just appeared in the artwork. I took a photo of it, and when I checked my phone, the figure wasn't there. I didn't sleep that night, or the night after, and by day 3, the painting had changed again. Now there was a spiral staircase leading underground at the center of the city. The figure was gone, but something was crawling out of the stairs. Something thin, something black. with too many arms. Jack came over that day, and the second he saw the painting, he froze. Dude, I think this is from the Paris catacombs, the unauthorized section. I told him that sounded like BS, but he pulled up an old YouTube video from 2010, one of those lost footage ones. A guy walking deep into the catacombs finds a sealed-off tunnel, and then his camera glitches out as he hears breathing in the walls. The last thing the camera catches, a painting nailed to the bricks. Same art style, same colors, same glyphs, and then the video cuts out. That video was deleted off YouTube years ago, but the mirror was still up on an archived forum. Jack said some people call it the banished frame. Apparently, there are only 5 of them in existence, and they're alive. I know it sounds ridiculous, but I'm telling you, it's real. And after that third night, I started hearing breathing in my walls too. Like the painting wasn't just showing a city, but inviting me into it. Let me know if you all want more. I've got security cam footage, TikTok DMs that disappeared after I sent them, and something happened last week in the Paris metro that connects to all of this. This isn't just a haunted painting, it's a map, and something down there still thinks it's alive. I didn't tell my parents, didn't tell my girlfriend either, not because I didn't want to, but because every time I tried, my phone would crash. All my messages would delete mid-send. Even voice memos would cut off right before I'd say the word painting. It was like something new, like the damn canvas was watching me. The night after Jack came over, I made the decision to destroy it. No filming, no haunted object content. I just wanted it gone. I was sick of waking up at 3:11 a.m., sick of the breathing in the walls, and most of all, sick of the way the painting kept changing, like it was evolving, like it was becoming more alive every night. I took it into the backyard around 2 a.m., wrapped it in a black trash bag, doused it with lighter fluid, and set it on fire. I watched it burn for maybe 3 full minutes. That should have been the end of it. But then I started hearing screaming, not in my head, out loud, human, like someone was being skinned alive, but underneath the fire. I ran. I panicked, grabbed the garden hose, tried to put it out, but the fire didn't die. It just stopped, like it gave up on its own. A puff of oily black smoke rose up and then vanished into the wind. And when I finally unwrapped what was left of the canvas, expecting ash or melted fabric, I swear to you, the painting wasn't burned. It was wetter, not like water. It was soaked in something sticky and red, dripping onto the grass. It bled. I threw up, right there on the lawn. I couldn't breathe for a solid minute. My vision went white, and the static buzz filled my ears like a busted speaker. I must have passed out, because when I came to, the sun was up, and the painting was back inside my room, hanging on the wall like I never took it down. Except now, it was bigger. Same city, same ruined Eiffel Tower, but the spiral staircase was fully visible now, descending into what looked like a red-lit pit, with human arms sticking out of the walls like rotten roots, and at the very bottom, something was waiting. A shape, tall, thin, mouthless, eyeless, with ribs outside its body, like they were grown over the skin, and beneath it, the same 3 glyphs, but now they glowed faintly red, almost pulsing like a heartbeat. That was the day the hallucination started. At first, it was just things in the corner of my eye, crawling things, hands reaching from air vents, shadows that didn't belong to anything. Then, the voices. At first, I thought it was people outside. Then I realized they were coming from inside my AirPods. Every time I tried to listen to music, I'd hear this slow, grinding whisper underneath the beat, like cartilage cracking between teeth. One night, I opened Snapchat, and my face looked wrong, like the filters didn't work on me anymore. My eyes would flicker, turn black for half a second. One time, the filter actually turned my mouth sideways. I posted a story joking about it. It got taken down in under 5 minutes. Not flagged, deleted. And when I tried to repost it, the app wouldn't let me upload videos anymore. This went on for days. I stopped eating, couldn't sleep, couldn't go to class. I lived in that room with that painting, and I swear, every time I blinked, it looked more real, like it wasn't painted anymore. It was photographic, moving, breathing. And then came the rats. Hundreds of them. I live in a student house with 3 other roommates. We'd never had a pest problem before, but suddenly, they were everywhere. In the walls, in the shower, inside the goddamn fridge. One of them chewed through my laptop charger and died there. Blood pooled out like it had eaten something rotten. I called an exterminator. He showed up, took one look at the house, and said he wouldn't touch this job for any amount of money. No joke, he said. Something's wrong with your foundation. I think you've got chambers under here. Chambers. That word stuck with me, because a few days later, the breathing in the walls got louder and closer. And then, one night, I heard something scratch the inside of my closet. Not mice, not rats, something heavy. I grabbed my phone, opened my camera, and slowly walked toward it. I was expecting maybe a raccoon on drugs, because I had no other explanation for the sounds it was making. But when I opened the door, the closet was gone. I mean physically, like the drywall was hollowed out. Beyond my jackets was just a black tunnel, old bricks, stale air, and footprints in the dust. Bare, human, leading downward. And guess what was painted on the brick wall? The same 3 glyphs. I ran out of the house. I didn't even grab my shoes. Just sprinted down the street like I was on fire, past the 7-Eleven, past the creepy lit up McDonald's with the 24/7 play place that no one ever actually uses, and called Jack from a parking lot near a Starbucks. He didn't answer. I tried Instagram, TikTok, even BeReal. No sign of him. So I did something stupid. I called my ex. She's a psych major, kind of into fringe psychology stuff. So I figured maybe she'd believe me. I told her everything, left a 5-minute voicemail, rambling about cursed paintings and tunnels in my closet. I didn't expect her to believe me, but she did. And when she finally called me back, she was sobbing. She told me about a Reddit post she read 2 years ago, before we even met, about a girl in Paris who bought a painting from an alley market near Montmartre. The painting changed every night, and one night, the girl disappeared. Her apartment was locked from the inside. All they found was a hole behind her closet, leading into the catacombs. She was never found. UNESCO supposedly sealed the tunnel the next week. That's when it all snapped. I had to go into the tunnel. I'm not trying to sound brave. It wasn't bravery. It was compulsion, like the glyphs were dragging me. So I went home. The tunnel behind the closet, still there, still breathing. The air inside smelled like old pennies and sewage and meat. I brought a flashlight, my phone, a baseball bat, and a GoPro. That's it. As I stepped inside, I saw the footprints again. Still bare, still human, but now They were fresh, leading downward. I walked for what felt like an hour, and then I saw them, the paintings, hundreds, thousands, lining the walls, all of them unique, all of them showing different cities, some modern, some ancient, some ruined beyond recognition, but all of them had stairs, spirals, something descending, and at the bottom of each canvas, that same thing, the thing with the ribs on the outside. I kept walking until I reached a chamber, carved out of limestone, circular, like an ancient pit. In the center was a pedestal, and on the pedestal, a painting of me, standing exactly where I stood. Same flashlight, same baseball bat, except in the painting, I was screaming. Then I heard it, that breathing, no longer in the walls. It was right behind me, something big, wet, and hungry. I turned around, just as my flashlight exploded. Not went out, exploded. Shards of glass into my face. The only light left was a faint glow from the glyphs lining the chamber. And in that glow, I saw it. The figure, tall, ribbed, pulsing, its head tilted like it didn't understand what I was. Its arms were wrong, elongated, hands like cracked spider legs, and when it opened its mouth, it sounded like a dial-up modem screaming. I ran. I don't remember how long. I blacked out. My GoPro got destroyed. My phone melted. Literally, like the battery went nuclear. I woke up the next morning on my bedroom floor, face down, covered in dust, and the painting, still on the wall, now showing me, lying on the floor, exactly like I was, except in the painting, something stood over me, watching, breathing, smiling. Do not buy anything off the dark web, especially art, especially when it bleeds. I don't know what day it is anymore. I mean, my phone melted, my clocks are stuck at 3:11, and every window in my room now shows the same thing. A dead city skyline soaked in fog. Not Oregon, not anything on Earth. I tried opening the window. I climbed halfway out, just trying to see if I was losing my mind, if I'd maybe had a psychotic break or something. But when I leaned out, there was no outside wall, just more of that city. Cracked stone bridges suspended over bottomless pits. Half-built towers made from bones and concrete. And below that red light, it's always there. Humming, buzzing beneath everything. I climbed back inside, locked the window, and cried. I'm not gonna lie. I curled up in bed, shaking, wishing I could just turn it all off. Go back to school, to TikTok, to reality. But this thing, whatever it is, it's rewriting reality itself. It's using me. And now it's not just the painting, it's me. I'm starting to change. The first sign was my skin. It started flaking like dried paint. I woke up one morning and the skin on my palms was literally cracking off, like someone had dragged sandpaper across it. No blood, just this powdery residue, the color of ash mixed with rust. I stood in front of the mirror, shaking, and noticed something worse. There were glyphs appearing on my chest, not tattoos, imprints, faintly glowing red under the skin, like veins pulsing with magma. The same 3 glyphs that were under the painting, except now they were moving. They writhed beneath the skin like maggots inside flesh. And then I heard it. That voice. Not a voice, exactly. More like a vibration behind my teeth. It spoke in clicks and static. I only understood one word. Descend. I passed out after that. But not from fear. From something else. Like my body had just shut down. Like the gears had rusted, and I just folded inward. I had dreams, if you could call them that. A boy in a white mask, carving out his own tongue with a spoon, a woman chained to a subway rail in Paris, whispering to the rats, and something in the dark behind it all, watching, salivating. When I woke up, I wasn't in my room anymore. I was in a train car, not a normal one. It was rusted out, the floor covered in roaches and this thick black moss that squirmed when I stepped on it. There were no windows, no ads, no signs, just flickering red emergency lights and a map printed above the door. But the map wasn't of Paris. It was a spiral, a vertical spiral, going down, each stop labeled with a glyph. The last one, at the very bottom, just said, Ella Gorge. The throat. I tried to get out, but there were no doors. And then I felt the train moving, but not forward, downward. The sound of screaming metal echoed around me, not from friction, from something alive, like the train itself was made from bone and wet lungs. And then the lights went out. I don't know how long I was in the dark. Could have been seconds, could have been hours, but I started hearing voices in the blackness, familiar ones. My mum, my ex, Jack, all whispering the same sentence over and over again. We live inside it now. The train finally stopped. The door opened, and I stepped out into what I can only describe as an inverted cathedral. Imagine a church flipped inside out. The walls were covered in spines, human spines, nailed to the limestone in crisscrossing patterns. The stained glass windows were made from teeth, real teeth. They shone red from the inside, like there was a fire behind the walls. And in the center of the room, surrounded by these frozen statues of people mid-scream, was the canvas, the original. It was massive, maybe 30 feet tall, suspended by chains from the ceiling. It didn't look like a painting anymore. It looked like a window, a portal. I could see through it, and what I saw made me wish I was dead. It was me, not now me, future me, or some broken version of me, strapped to a table of stone, arms flayed open like wings, ribs cracked out like a crown, eyes gone, and something was feeding from my mouth, not eating, feeding, like I was a well, and it was drinking my soul. I started screaming. I couldn't stop. I think I clawed at my own face. My fingernails broke off. Blood poured down my chin, but I couldn't stop screaming. That's when the priest came. Not human, not anymore. They wore robes made from human hair. Their mouths were sewn shut, but they screamed through their skin. The sound came from their chests, a sound like whales dying in space. They dragged me across the floor, chanting in that vibrating glyph tongue. One of them pulled out a knife, not a normal knife, but one carved from a human femur, and started carving into my shadow, not my body, my shadow, and it hurt. It hurt more than anything I've ever felt, like my soul was being peeled. When they were done, the lead priest leaned in and whispered one sentence into my ear. I'll never forget it. You were the first to look too long. Now you are the first to see. Then I woke up, back in my room, covered in blood. The painting was gone. So was the tunnel. But in its place, etched into the wall in something that dripped, was the new glyph. A fourth one. I think it means mouth, or maybe threshold. My phone was there too, working. A single video saved on it. No app, no explanation. I opened it. It was me, standing outside the Paris catacombs, barefoot, smiling. Behind me, the entrance gate was wide open, and I was waving myself inside. The Paris metro has a secret line. It's not on any map. It doesn't end, and it's taking me back. They buried a city. They buried it alive, and it's starving. If you're reading this, You already know too much. I don't know how this is getting posted. I don't even have a keyboard anymore. The keys melted 3 nights ago, like they were made of sugar glass and exposed to a blowtorch. My fingertips still burn. The blood dried into the space bar. I didn't type this. I thought it, and it showed up. Something is listening. Something is writing it with me. I can feel it every time I blink. And it started the night the Paris Metro sent me an invitation. It came as a notification on my phone. No sender, no app. Just a screen that read, La ligne oubliée. Lost departure. Midnight. You have been seen. The message vanished 2 seconds later. The phone went black. Then the battery icon turned red and started dripping pixels. I looked outside. The street was gone. No cars, no lights, just darkness and a tunnel, right where my driveway used to be. It looked like the entrance to a metro station, but wrong. No name, no graffiti, just smooth white stone, like marble had been melted into the concrete. And it was breathing. The whole tunnel pulsed like a throat, and like a complete idiot, I went in. The air got colder with every step, not like a basement cold, not winter. This was deep cold, the kind that lives under cities, the kind that smells like moldy books and forgotten teeth. At the bottom of the stairs was a platform, empty, no signs, no ads, not even rails, just a tunnel, endless, and a screen on the wall that said one word, descent, descent. Then I heard it, the screech of metal echoing from the dark, not like a normal train. This sounded alive, like a scream layered over steel grinding bone, and out of the black it came, the train. It was white, no windows, no doors. It didn't stop. It just opened, like a wound splitting down the side, and I stepped in. Inside was wrong. No seats, no poles, just one long hallway of mirrors, stretching forever in both directions. Except the mirrors didn't reflect me. They reflected other people. My ex, screaming. My dad, with no eyes. Jack, soaked in blood, carving the glyphs into his own legs. I turned to leave. The door was gone. The train started moving, and the mirrors began to melt. The faces twisted. My own face appeared, over and over, screaming, rotting, smiling, with too many teeth. Then the lights went out. When they came back on, I was in a station, not a real one. Something built underneath the real one. It looked like an abandoned platform, buried in flesh. The walls weren't walls. They were skin, veiny, shivering. There were eyes in it, human eyes, watching me. The signs were printed in French, but the letters were backwards, twisted. One read, Gare des Dents, Station of Teeth. Something moved on the track. I froze. My body locked up. It was instinct, like prey freezing in the presence of something older than memory. Out of the tunnel, crawling on all fours, came a man. Except he wasn't a man anymore. He was flat, completely 2D, like he'd been squashed by the tunnel walls. Every bone had been broken and rebroken until he was just a walking slab of flesh. His head twitched, turning in circles, and in his mouth, his real mouth, was a canvas. He was carrying a painting in his throat. He stopped in front of me, opened his jaw wider than humanly possible, and dropped it at my feet. Then he screamed. The scream wasn't a sound. It was a memory. My worst one. The night my brother died in the car crash. The way I held his hand while he bled out. The way he said my name one last time and choked on it. That scream was that memory. It took it and played it back like an old VHS, glitching, replaying, smearing blood across my brain. And then the flattened man folded backward into the wall and disappeared. I looked down at the painting. It was blank. but when I picked it up, I heard it. A whisper, so quiet it scraped my eardrums raw. You brought it home. Now you must return it. And the canvas began to swell. The fabric bulged. It looked pregnant. I tried to drop it, but my hands were fused to the frame. My fingers stretched into the wood. I screamed, tried to pull back, and felt the tendons snap. I collapsed. When I came to, I was in a new tunnel, alone. But I wasn't bleeding. I wasn't even injured, because I didn't have hands anymore. They were painted on. My arms ended in flat brushstrokes. Color smeared where my fingers should be. I was becoming the canvas. I started running, not walking, not thinking. Running, past a hallway made of tongues, past a vending machine that dispensed teeth in jars, past a train car filled with mannequins wearing the faces of people I know. I ran until I reached another chamber. This one was different. It wasn't a room. It was an altar made of spines, circling a massive glyph, drawn in eyeballs, all of them blinking in sync. Above it hovered the original painting, the first one, the one that started it all. Only now it was a hole, a black void in the shape of a frame, and something inside it was breathing. No, not breathing, licking. I could hear the tongue, wet, slapping the edges, hungry. It knew I was here. Something rose out of the floor. A woman, if you could call her that. She had no face, just a single slit, where her mouth stretched from ear to ear, sideways. Her body was made of stitched together torsos, legs growing where arms should be, ribs curling out like rose petals. She walked on skulls, not wearing them, walking on a path of them, and every time her foot touched one, it screamed like a child. She knelt in front of me and whispered, "You opened the gate. You painted the path. Now you must feed it." And behind her, the painting opened wider, like a jaw. Inside it, I saw the city again, the one buried under Paris. But now it was moving. The towers crawled, the cathedral breathed, and in the center of it all was a throat, massive, miles wide, opening and closing with the rhythm of a dying heart. And I realized, the city isn't buried, the city is the mouth. I screamed until my throat tore open, and I fell into the painting. I don't remember the landing, but I know I never left. I can still hear it breathing. The mouth, the city, whatever it is, it's not done with me. My room's not my room anymore. The walls pulse, the mirror bleeds, and every time I close my eyes, I see another canvas, another tunnel, another version of me, each one worse than the last. One has no skin. One is nailed to the Eiffel Tower's corpse. One is smiling with my brother's face. And now, tonight, a new painting appeared on my wall. It shows you, reading this, watching it happen, and behind you, the tunnel is already opening. I don't expect anyone to finish this part. Not because it's long, not because it's unbelievable, but because if you've gotten this far, something is already inside you. That's how it works. You don't open the painting, it opens you. The glyphs weren't instructions, they were permissions, invitations, an ancient language that no human should have read, let alone spoken. That thing, that city, that mouth, whatever it is, it doesn't speak in words. It paints with people. And I was its first masterpiece. But I'm not the lost. I tried to run. Of course I did. When I landed inside the painting, inside La Vie Profonde, the deep city, I saw the mouth in full. It was colossal. It wasn't a metaphor. It wasn't symbolism. It was real. Miles wide, carved into the flesh of the earth like a wound. buildings rising from its gums like rotted teeth, roads that twisted like veins around its perimeter, subways that moved like centipedes across its surface. The city didn't look like a mouth. The city was a mouth. Paris was just its tongue. I was dropped into a chamber built of mirrors and cartilage. The floor was wet, not with water, with something thicker. It smelled like copper and rot and ink, like blood that had thoughts. And above me hung a giant fresco, a mural that moved. I recognized the faces in it. Jack, my ex, my brother, my mom. All of them stretched, split open, stitched back together by brushstrokes made of nerve endings. Their eyes were real, still blinking, still aware. And there, in the center of the mural, was me. Not the me from before, the me after. I was no longer flesh. Not really. My skin had hardened into something flat, like stretched leather. My arms had no bones. My breath made no sound. But I could still see. I could still feel. They had made me into a canvas. My spine was the frame. My veins, the grid. My thoughts were pigment. And then they began painting with me. Not on me. With me. I saw flashes, real places. A McDonald's in Tokyo, where the fryers turned black at 3:11 a.m., and customers walked in, but never walked out. A forgotten Starbucks in Prague, where the menu is written in the same glyphs as the ones in my chest, and the barista doesn't blink. Ever. A child's birthday party in Chicago, where the balloons whispered ancient French riddles and bled ink when they popped. Every image they created with me became real. Somewhere. To someone. Because that's what this thing does. It doesn't kill. It copies. It prints. And then it inhabits. At some point, I lost time. Time doesn't exist down here. You either are, or you're not. You flicker between forms like a bad signal. You become frames of something else's dream. And then I saw it. The last part. The mouth opened. Not the city mouth. The real one. The original. The throat behind time. Buried beneath layers of painted worlds, languages, faces, thoughts. The thing that existed before art. Before expression. Before sound. I couldn't describe it. There are no words. Not even glyphs. It wasn't darkness. It wasn't void. It was undoing. And I heard it. Number I became the sound it made. It screamed through me, not in volume, not in pain, but in meaning. Like a broadcast you weren't meant to receive. Like a concept so fundamentally wrong, it turns the inside of your brain into wet sand. I woke up screaming. In my bed. In my house. Everything back to normal. Painting gone. Closet back. No glyphs. Phone working. Battery at 92%. But the TV was on, and it was playing a live feed of a room. My room. I watched as I stood there. Not me, but the painted me. Flat. Quiet. Hollow. It just stood there, looking at the camera, smiling. The mouth on its face was drawn on. Black ink smeared into a curve, but the teeth beneath it were real, and they were chewing. I turned around. The real me. The meat me. And it wasn't there. The room was empty, except for a new canvas sitting on my desk, still wet, still breathing. And you know what it showed? You, reading this, sitting wherever you are, phone screen glowing, your face just barely lit. And behind you, in the reflection, if you check right now, you'll see it. The tunnel. It's already forming. It starts small, just a shimmer, a shadow. Maybe you'll see a glyph scratched into your mirror. Maybe your phone won't let you delete this tab. Maybe tonight your dreams will smell like burning hair and rusted coins. It doesn't matter. You're already in it. That's what La Ville Profonde is. It's It's not a place. It's not a painting. It's a network, a system, an infection passed through sight, through art, through thought. UNESCO didn't ban it because it was haunted. They banned it because it works. It spreads. And now that you've seen it, you are the canvas now.